Hello and welcome to the evening news for Friday, March 21, 2014. I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. In the headlines, the opposition Iron Lady dies. Ali says passage of AML CTF bill crucial for tourism sector. Bikers' relatives outraged at police's sloppy work. Unions sue UG for alleged fraud and theft of wages. Crashed plane engine still to be removed from site. And Rohi says police not exempt from tint campaign. Now for the news in detail. Deborah Baca, one of Ghana's most outstanding attorneys at law and politician, died this morning. The People's National Congress reform disclosed with much regret. Swatana Marshall reports.
Profound shock when the leader of the People's National Congress, Brigadier David Granger, called me just before 7 a.m. this morning to indicate that Mrs. Deborah Baca had died. The People's National Congress Reform and a Partnership for National Unity have lost a great icon, a freedom fighter, a champion for women's rights, a soldier for justice. And I have lost a sister.
That was Chairman of the People's National Congress Reform, Basil Williams, delivering an emotional speech at the Leader of the Opposition's office today, shortly after a minute of silence was observed on the passing of Deborah Baca, former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. Williams, who was undoubtedly gripped with sadness, was speaking in the presence of Joseph Harmon, Jaipal Sharma and Carl Greenwich. Hailed as a sister and a comrade, Harmon said Baca is an irreplaceable loss to the PNCR, their Partnership for National Unity and the Bar Association of Guyana. Her unflagging commitment, tireless pursuit of social justice and infectious good humour will be missed.
As she was fond of saying whenever as Deputy Speaker she assumed the Speaker's chair, I expect that there will be order and silence in the House. This remark was always greeted with peals of laughter, an acknowledgement of her quick wit and ever-ready repartee from the front bench, usually an invitation to counter heckling and disorder. She made heckling into an art form, sharp and withering though never personally wounding. The National Assembly has been a duller place for her absence. We have lost a cherished colleague, a friend for all seasons, a creative parliamentary and political leader, a Guyanese patriot of rare quality.
Meanwhile, Greenwich said Baca inspired greatness, noting that she was a selfless colleague who often rendered assistance when necessary. But she will also be remembered for her role she played in the National Assembly and her unwavering support to the PNCR.
In terms of a capacity to master the standing orders, to understand the standing orders, to recall them, and to be able to use them to telling effect. She does not have a peer in the House. She was also very quick on her feet, someone that could adjust to the twists and turns of the debate, and therefore, as a colleague, she was a major asset.
Baca obtained her legal education certificate from the Hugh Wooding Law School in Trinidad and Tobago in 1983 and a Bachelor of Law at the University of the West Indies in 1981. She previously served in the National Assembly during the period 1997 to 2001 and 2001 to 2007 before her last appointment in 2011. She resigned as APNU Member of Parliament in February after falling ill late last year. In addition to her parliamentary role, she served on the Georgetown City Council in 1994. At the time of her death, she served as a member of a number of important organizations such as the Lions Club International and the Women Millennium Caucus. Svetlana Marshall reporting for the Evening News.
Meanwhile, the People's National Congress Reform, the National Assembly, the Bar Association of Guyana, and by extension the rest of Guyana were plunged into a state of sadness as word spread on the passing of Deborah Backer.
Deborah Jan Backer died early this morning at the Davis Memorial Hospital after months of battling with cancer. She leaves to mourn her husband and 2 children. Just after noon, vehicles lined in front of her Meadowbrook residence as close family and friends gathered in much sorrow. The family declined to speak, requesting privacy. Meanwhile, at the PNCR headquarters Sophia, the party's flag flew at half-mast as sorrow filled the air. PNCR General Secretary Oscar Clark recalled that Backer had joined the party in 1993, just before local government elections in 1994. Since then, Clark said Backer played a tremendous role in fulfilling the mandate of the party. She served as the vice chairperson of the PNCR.
Ms. Backer was, as I said, she in the party, she was very popular because she was a free thinker, and she was always spoke her mind in whatever fora she found herself in the party. And she was always an independent thinker. And that was a good thing, because it's a very rare quality. Find people who are independent thinkers and free speakers, people who are free to speak what they believe. Mrs. Backer was one of those persons. She always, and she was not afraid to speak up. So on all occasions, particularly party meetings, party conferences, congresses, and so on, she would express herself in her usual candor. She always, and that's what people like most about her, I think. She a very powerful public speaker. And you always remember her platform speeches on the public, on the hustings during the elections. She was always one who commanded the attention of her audience. Of course, she was a trained advocate, so I suppose that was an asset. That we have benefited from her contributions is, to put it mildly, she has contributed immensely to the development of the party during her years of service to it, and she will be remembered.
Leader of the opposition, David Granger, is out of the district, hence he was unable to offer his sympathy on camera. The Evening News also caught up with several other persons within the political realm and legal affairs sector who offered their condolences.
Debbie has been a tower of strength, not only in our party, but also in Parliament. She has served us faithfully, and she served us on many fronts at the level of the party. She reached the highest position as that of vice chairperson.
Debbie was someone you would never forget. She was quick-witted. I loved that sharpness of her thinking. I served for a short while with her in Parliament. And by the time the people on the other side say something, Debbie had the answer. Sometimes you want to know how she would, did it so quickly. In terms of party work, she was somebody who loved to do field work. I recall going with her once to Region 6. And we were talking about, being in the party. And she said, Cheryl, how long were you in the party? And I said, 1975. And she said, hats off to you, girl.
She was in the city council, as you know. She used to be in the city council, and she's now in the legislative council. I think that she has tried to make her contribution. As usual, is one of the women who are living up to the demand for the new role which women should play. May her soul rest in peace.
Speaker of the National Assembly, Raphael Trotman, expressed deep shock at the passing of Deborah Barker. He said Barker was a long-standing member of the National Assembly, having served in various capacities from 1998 to 2014. It was pointed out that at the time of her resignation in January, she was the Deputy Speaker, Chairperson of the Foreign Affairs Relations Committee, member of various standing and special select committees, and the main opposition spokesperson on foreign affairs, public safety and national security. Svetlana Marshall for the Evening News.
The anti-money laundering bill must be passed or else Guyana stands to lose numerous investments in the tourism sector. Gabriela Patram reports.
The AML is not something to play with. It's not a political tool. It is not a social tool. It is not an economic tool. It is an international necessity that would destroy us if we don't sign it. It has the potential of disrupting this sector tremendously.
That was Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce Irfan Ali at a press briefing today as he updated media operatives about the plans for the sector in 2014. The minister noted that the non-passage of this bill will disrupt the tourism sector tremendously. He highlighted that the tourism ministry presently is having great problems because they cannot transport money to companies in the region for the payment of ads. The irritated minister stated that the tourism sector in Guyana is about the transferring and collecting of money fast. He pleaded with the opposition to reconsider their position.
It's time for the political opposition to mature up, to put Guyana first, to put this tourism sector first, to put the livelihoods of the people within this sector first, to put the thousands of persons who depend on this sector first, to put the investors who are pouring money into this sector first, than their selfish, naive, political stupidity in not supporting this bill.
The tourism sector continues to blossom. Thus far for the year 2014, Guyana has seen a 6.3% increase in tourist arrivals. For the Evening News, I'm Gabriela Patram.
A relative of slain biker Kirk Davis has expressed outrage over the manner in which the prosecution dealt with the case, which resulted in Davis's alleged killer Randy Jaglio being set free on Thursday. Davis was reportedly gunned down on September 3 last outside his 7th Street Eccles East Bank Demerara home. The outraged relative told his newscast that family members are not furious with the court's decision, but rather certain factors relating to the case that was presented by the prosecution led by Bharat Mangru. She added that there were two main witnesses in this particular matter, and the prosecution without a doubt had the case in its hands but has failed to protect the witnesses, hence them leaving the country out of fear. She said after taking statements from the two witnesses, they would have indicated to the police that they were fearful for their lives, but yet they were not given any sort of protection and made a decision not to testify. Relief may very well be underway for users of public transportation as the Ministry of Public Works, Transport and Harbour is pushing to have the financial plans for the big buses approved in the 2014 budget. Let's find out more in this report.
Private minibuses can jack their prices up as much as they want, as the government has plans of introducing the big buses into the public transportation system. A high-ranking government official told this newscast that Guyanese can expect to see provisions made for this in the 2014 national budget. The official stated that talks were held with the necessary stakeholders and the outcome will be known in the budget's presentation on Monday. In 2013, Minister Robeson Ben had announced the government's intentions to reintroduce the public transportation system with the aim of alleviating the sore sight of stranded commuters in the morning and the evening on the roadways. Though the need was seen for the reintroduction of the public transportation system after commuters began complaining of severe increases in bus fares, Minister Robeson Ben had at the time noted that the ministry cannot proceed with the implementation of the system without first having plans in place for surveys and studies. Soon after this announcement was made, the government had initiated a pilot project where several of the large buses were placed on the roads. During this exercise, commuters were required to pay the standard fare they would usually pay the privately owned operators, regardless of the hour of the day or the night. This arrangement had worked well while the project lasted, with public transportation users calling for the complete reintroduction of the system. Over a number of years, users of the privately owned minibuses plying the East Coast, East Bank, and West Coast of Demerara routes have bitterly complained of being exploited between the peak hours of 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. Reporting for the Evening News, I'm Gomati Gangadin.
The Ministry of Housing and Water will this year pay major focus to residents living in underdeveloped conditions. Alexis Rodney reports.
Housing Minister Irfan Ali, speaking to the Evening News earlier today, revealed that a significant portion of the 2014 housing budget will place major focus on squatters' settlements. The minister noted that almost all squatters occupying government lands fall within the low-income bracket, pointing out that the government has a special package for these households. Ali said that low-income families can look forward to further reduced prices on lands. He said he was unsure if government will allow squatters to remain on their respective plots and have the area regularized. However, he stressed that squatters may have to be relocated. Ali had said earlier that government was concerned about the well-being of all Guyanese, including those who may be occupying lands illegally or without the relevant titles. He said the Ministry of Housing and Water has a responsibility to engage persons in squatter settlements to have them understand the importance of having well-structured and planned communities, which can only be realized through regularization. Last year, 973 lots in squatter settlements were upgraded, including street paving, drainage, septic tanks, and water supply. Ali had said too that the first step towards regularization is the execution of a new occupancy survey that will seek to identify those persons who will benefit directly from the process and those who may become disenfranchised as a result. There are some 216 squatter settlements in Guyana, with 170 already regularized. For the Evening News, Alexis Rodney.
The University of Guyana Senior Staff Association, the UGSSA, and the University of Guyana's Workers' Union, the UGWU, on Friday filed a writ in the High Court against the University of Guyana. UGSSA Vice President Melissa Eiffel said that the writ was served on Vice Chancellor Professor Jacob Obadeyi by a court-martial. The two UG associations, through their presidents, Dr. Patsy Francis and Bruce Haynes, are seeking damages in excess of $100,000 for fraudulent conversion of the plaintiffs' members' salaries and wages, including deductions from the plaintiffs' members' salary and wages for NIS deductions and pay-as-you-earn between January 2014 to March 2014, damages in excess of $100,000 for breach of statutory duty to remit deductions from the plaintiffs' members and salary wages for NIS payments and PAYE as mandated by the provisions of the Income Tax Act and the National Insurance and Social Security Act, Chapter 3601. The University of Guyana is commanded within 10 days after the service of the writ, inclusive of the day of service, March 21, 2014, to make an appearance to be entered on its behalf in response to the suit. In case you've just joined us, you're watching the Evening News. Stay tuned. More news ahead. Welcome back. This is the Evening News. Commissioner of the Women and Gender Equality and Rights of the Child Commissions, Nicole Cole, said she hoped that a recently concluded colloquium on domestic abuse held earlier this week will help members of Guyana's justice system to deal effectively with domestic violence. Alexis Rodney reports.
Cole, speaking with this newscast, recently expressed abhorrence over the issues relating to domestic abuse, especially the violence meted out to women and children. She noted that the justice system has been failing women who are abused daily, since from the many cases reported to the police, a mere 1% reaches the court and make convictions. This information was garnered from a study carried out by the Guyana Human Rights Organization last year, she said. Cole pointed to the recent gruesome rapes and murder of women that have already occurred for this year. She noted with interest the rape and murder of 33-year-old taxi driver Savitri Gangadine of Susdike, East Bank, Demerara, whose body was found in a car. She noted to the death of 19-year-old Patricia Cathy Young, who was discovered in a cemetery with her underwear off, skirt pulled to her stomach, and the top she was wearing tied around her neck. More heinous, she recalled, was the case of a 2-year-old baby that was brutally sodomized. Cole reiterated that much needs to be done for Guyanese women. The seminar was coordinated by the Commonwealth Secretariat in collaboration with the Judiciary of Guyana and drew participants from organizations across the country, which have major focus on the eradication of the social ill. For the Evening News, I'm Alexis Rodney.
The engine of the Piper aircraft, which crashed at Arrow on Tuesday morning, moments after taking off from the airstrip, is still to be removed from the crash site. Acting Director of the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, the GCAA, Chitrani Hiralal, confirmed today. Hiralal said that the GCAA is in discussions with several local airlines with the intention of getting them to travel to the crash site to bring out the engine. She said that at this point in time, only helicopters are accessible to the area, but at the same time, they have to make sure that there are no risks involved during the operation. The official stated that the investigators are presently reviewing the specification of the engine to determine the most suitable means of transportation to bring it to the Ogle International Airport. Hiralal reiterated that once the engine has been removed, it will be shipped to the manufacturer for inspection if the GCAA investigators cannot determine the cause of the accident. Some 19 officers from the Guyana Police Force, including ranks attached to the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit, on Thursday graduated from a jetway aimed at enhancing the security sector. Let's find out more in this report.
The training program, a collaborative effort between the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Canadian High Commission, saw officers attached to the disciplinary forces being trained in various aspects of fighting crime, particularly organized crime. It included the ability to recognize traveling persons who may be in the process of conducting illegal activities. Speaking at the graduation ceremony, Canadian High Commissioner Her Excellency Dr. Nicole Giles noted that organized crime does not respect borders, and as such there should be a global approach towards combating such occurrences.
Activities of organized crime, including drug trafficking, money laundering, and contraband smuggling, are a threat to all countries in the Caribbean, and its reach extends into North America. As Minister Rohe noted last month, organized crime does not respect borders. Insecurity in the Americas and the Caribbean poses direct threats not only to our friends and neighbors across the hemisphere, but also to Canada and Canadian interests, including tourists, businesses, investors, and diaspora communities. Criminal routes traverse multiple countries and jurisdictions as criminals seek out the path of least resistance and greatest financial gain. Crime is an international business and therefore requires an international response, a response that must be based on collaboration and integration of national strategies and efforts. Canada's Jetway Training Program is an example of Canada's steadfast commitment to working internationally and collaboratively with partners such as Guyana, to combat international crime.
Meanwhile, Minister Rohe, in his address to the gathering, related that he was impressed by the training involved in the program, since it not only employed theoretical, but also practical tactics during its conduct.
I felt that this was a program or a training course that was not only useful for Guyana, but which ought to capture the imagination of the persons who would have been selected to be part of this course on the Guyana side. And I would sincerely hope that that is precisely what took place. I would hope that the goals which were set by the Jetway team would have been accomplished, and that this would be the beginning of the training of law enforcement officers in this particular field, because beginning in the sense that training never ends, training is constantly a work in progress.
The launch of this project comes a month after 70 persons were trained in the detection of fraudulent documents and received 200 fraudulent documents detection kits, which consisted of head backlights and portable magnifiers. That program was also facilitated by the Canadian High Commission.
One news still ahead. Stay tuned. You're watching the Evening News. Welcome back. This is the Evening News. A trio appeared in the Georgetown Magistrates Court before Chief Magistrate Priya Sinarayan Bihari, charged with robbery under arms. Rajiv Singh of East La Penitence, Georgetown, and Howard Rambrose, aged 21, of Lot 6 Meadowbank, East Bank, Demerara, both pleaded not guilty to the charge after it was alleged that on Friday, December 20 at Georgetown, being armed with a handgun, they robbed Mahesh Chetrani of $17,250,000, the property of Shamdas Keplani. Joan Prasad also pleaded not guilty to the charge, which stated that the defendants accepted the sum of $300,000, being well aware that it was stolen money. Rambrose and the manager of the store, Chetrani, uplifted the money and boarded the company vehicle to make a deposit at the bank. While in the vicinity of Avenue of the Republic, they were stuck up by Rambrose and Singh, who relieved them of the money and made good their escape. Bail was granted to Howard Rambrose in the sum of $370,000. Singh and Prasad were both granted bail late last year. The trio is expected to make another court appearance on April 2. Home Affairs Minister Clement Rohi on Thursday told media operatives that police ranks are also subjected to the current tint campaign, which is being conducted by the Guyana Police Force. More in this report.
Home Affairs Minister on Thursday evening told media operatives that while he's aware that some officers are breaking the law by having tint on their personal motor vehicles, these officers will be targeted in the ongoing campaign of the Guyana Police Force, which seeks to remove illegal tints from vehicles. Rohi maintained that as long as the police officers are not in possession of a legal tint waiver, their tints should be stripped from their vehicles. The minister further related that of recent there has been a flood of application to his ministry for a tint waiver. This, he explained, could be attributed to the current ongoing campaign by the police force. On the issue of the tint waiver, Rohi highlighted that some vehicles would come with a tint pre-installed as a part of the glass on the car. He said that the tint cannot be removed by the officers, but rather what the police officers are doing is removing the extra tint that would have been applied to the vehicle after they would have been granted the tint waiver by the Home Affairs Ministry. When questions were raised with regards to the Member of Parliament Christopher Jones having his tint stripped from his vehicle, Rohi related that the MP was in breach of the law. He maintained that at the scene of the incident, the MP had told the officers that he was in possession of getting his waiver. Rohi further explained that Jones was approached by officers on a previous occasion and was instructed to file a requisite document to validate his tint. This request, however, was not given any precedence as Jones failed to complete the paperwork required for him to have tint on his vehicle. Some days earlier, Jones was reportedly forced to remove tint from his motor vehicle windows after being stopped by ranks of the Tactical Service Unit. Bisham Mohammed at the Evening News.
This is the Evening News. Stay tuned. More news still ahead. This is the Evening News. Welcome back. Natural Resources and the Environment Minister Robert Prasad says Guyana has not shirked its responsibility, even though the global community has largely reneged on commitments to provide resources to developing countries to keep their forests intact. According to the minister, Guyana remains committed to ensuring that its forest resources are used wisely for development, but in a manner that recognizes the need for future generations of Guyanese to enjoy access. The minister, who was at the time speaking on the occasion to mark International Day of Forests 2014, said Guyana remains committed to the principle of sustainable utilization of these very important forest resources for socio-economic and other development. The Central Islamic Organization of Guyana, the CIOG, has expressed its disgust with the choice of words used by APNEW's Shadow Finance Minister Carl Greenidge in an article published in the Kaieteur News. More in this report.
The CIOG, in a statement, expressed its concerns with the statements made by Greenidge, who had used the words nasty or bloody war in the article. According to the religious organization, Greenidge's choice of words can only further provoke and contribute to an already sensitive ethnic situation that currently grips the nation. CIOG noted that it strongly condemns the choice of words used by the politician and positioned itself further from any such inflammatory statements that seeks to create disunity in our society. Irrespective of political, social, or economical differences that may exist, we appeal to all to exercise modernization in the tone of their remarks despite any short-term advantage that it achieves. The article was published in the last Monday's edition of the Kaieteur News, in which Greenidge was talking about the upcoming budget debates. The APNEW Member of Parliament was quoted saying, "If not, then it may very well be a nasty or bloody war when it is presented to the Parliament. This situation could have been prevented if only the interests of the people were seen as paramount." Finance Minister Ashni Singh on Tuesday announced the National Budget 2014 will be presented next Monday, March 24th.
This is the Evening News. Stay tuned for sports, sponsored by Maccorp after the break. Welcome back to the Evening News. Now for a look at sport. In the headlines, wins for India, Zimbabwe and the Netherlands in World T20. Milo Schools football enters knockout round. Namilco One Law football starts on Sunday. And Finanz's world title bid ended by Sturm. Of course, our sportcast comes to you with kind compliments of Maccorp.
How would you like to get the parts you need at unbelievably reduced prices? For 3 days only, come to our yard sale and choose from thousands of factory fresh parts and used surplus equipment at prices worth shouting about. Visit our Providence location from March 21st to 23rd, starting daily at 9 a.m. Check our website or Facebook page for more information. Maccorp, let's build Guyana together.
Welcome back. Now for the details. We start off with some cricket news. India, Zimbabwe and the Netherlands recorded victories on the busiest day of the World T20 tournament in Bangladesh. In the final match of the day, India prevailed over Pakistan in a low-scoring encounter in Mirpur. Omar Akmal hit a top score of 33 in Pakistan's 130 for 7, a total that proved inadequate as India responded with 131 for 3 with 9 deliveries remaining. Virat Kohli led the victory charge with 36 not out, while Suresh Raina made 35 not out and Shikhar Dhawan 30. In the most exciting match of the day, the Netherlands trounced Ireland by 6 wickets in a high-scoring game to qualify for the next round. Ireland batted first and made 189 for 4, with Andrew Pointner making 57, William Porterfield 47 and Kevin O'Brien 42 not out from 16 deliveries. The Netherlands needed to win in 14.2 overs to qualify and blazed the victory at 193 for 4 in 13.5 overs. Opener Stefan Maigberg led the chase with a blistering 67 from 23 balls, while Tom Cooper smashed an unbeaten 45 from 15 deliveries and Wesley Barresi 40 from 22. The opening game of the day was won by Zimbabwe, who got past the United Arab Emirates by 5 wickets. Sean Williams grabbed 3 for 15 as the UAE batsmen were limited to 116 for 9 from the allotted 20 overs, before Elton Chikumbura thumped 53 from just 21 deliveries to lead Zimbabwe to victory at 118 for 5 in 13.4 overs. The World T20 will continue tomorrow with Sri Lanka playing South Africa and England facing up to New Zealand. Action in the Namilco One Law Football Classic will kick off on Sunday with a double-header set to signal the start of the 2014 competition. A total of 16 teams will be vying for a top prize of $1.2 million. Details in this report. Following the opening ceremony at 17 hours, when senior executives of the organizing club, Futa Conquerors, and officials of Namilco will address the gathering of teams and spectators, the first game of the 2014 tournament will kick off at 18 hours at the Tuckville ground. In the opening encounter, Rhythm Squad will face Santos, while at 20 hours in the feature game, Pile will take on Top 20 in a Georgetown-Linden clash. The ceremonial opening will be attended by Namilco's CEO Bert Sukai and Chief Financial Officer Fitzroy McLeod, as well as executives of Fruta Conquerors led by President Wayne Ford. On the field of play, arguably Guyana's #1 football club, Alpha United, will look to defend the title they won in 2013 against 15 other teams. The contenders are Top 20, Pile, Buxton United, Western Tigers, Seawall United, Fruta Conquerors, Moneda Lust, Rhythm Squad, Net Rockers, Beefy Triumph United, the Guyana Defence Force, Santos, Slingers, Camptown and New Amsterdam. The champion team will walk away $1.2 million richer, while the runner-up, third and fourth place finishers will receive $600,000, $400,000 and $200,000. Trophies will also accompany the cash prizes. Alpha United have won the tournament 3 times, the Guyana Defence Force have won it twice, while the Camptown lads have tasted success once. No tournament was held in 2011. And after several weekends of riveting action, the Milo Under-20 schools football competition will enter its round of 16 this weekend with a total of 8 games at the Education Ministry ground on Carifesta Avenue. 4 games each are billed for Saturday and Sunday, with the top teams from the preliminary rounds set to do battle. Let's find out more in this report. When action kicks off at 11 hours on Saturday, Dolphin Secondary will engage St. Mary's High, followed by South Renvelt against Lodge Secondary at 12 hours 30. Queen's College and North Georgetown will swing into action at 14 hours, with the Charlestown Secondary versus Kingston High game closing off the action from 15 hours 30. On Sunday, the players from Bishops High and North Renvelt Secondary will take to the field in the first match from 11 hours, with Christchurch and Chase Academy set to do battle from 12 hours 30. From 14 hours, Carmel Secondary will clash with Queenstown Secondary, while at 15 hours 30, St. George's High and Tugville will square off in the final game of the weekend. According to one of the organizers of the tournament, Troy Mendonza, 8 highly anticipated games are built for this weekend, with all the schools set to bring their A game. He noted that the competition has produced some outstanding football by the students, and the remaining playing days should be no different. The winners from this weekend's games will advance to the quarterfinals on March 26 and 27. The semifinals, third place playoff and final are fixed for March 29. All matches will be played at the Education Ministry ground. The tournament is a collaborative effort of BPATS Trading, the distributor of Milo, and the Petra organization. And we end with some squash news. Despite a daring challenge from Guyana's squash star Nicolette Fernandez, world number 6 Camille Sturm of France prevented her from reaching the quarterfinals of the Women's Squash Association's 29th Women's World Championship in Penang, Malaysia on Thursday. Fernandez was eliminated in the second round of the main draw by Sturm 14-12, 11-5, 11-3 in an encounter which lasted just 38 minutes. Coming off a phenomenal come-from-behind win against the former world number 1, Rachel Grinham, on Tuesday, Fernandez seemed pumped and ready to create yet another upset. Even though she would have been eliminated from the last 16 of the tournament, Fernandez may be able to find some consolation in her second win against the former world champion Grinham in less than 18 months. Grinham is the only woman besides the world number 1 Nicole David to have won the WSA world title since 2005, and David is on the quest for her 8th title. Fernandez was also awarded the 2013 WSA Sportsmanship Award earlier this week. And with that, we've come to the end of sport. Of course, you can find these and many more stories in tomorrow's edition of the Guyana Times. And here's an invitation to join us on TVG Channel 28 and on Radio Guyana Inc. 89.3 in Essequibo, 89.5 in Georgetown Environs, and 89.7 in Berbice and in Unicary, Suriname. Stay tuned to the evening news. Your bridge reports on the other side of the break.
How would you like to get the parts you need at unbelievably reduced prices? For 3 days only, come to our yard sale and choose from thousands of factory fresh parts and used surplus equipment at prices worth shouting about. Visit our Providence location from March 21st to 23rd, starting daily at 9 a.m. Check our website or Facebook page for more information. MACORP, let's build Guyana together.
Welcome back. Now for a look at your bridge reports. The Damrar Harbour Bridge will be closed on Saturday, March 22 at 8 hours 30 for a period of 1.5 hours, and the Berbice River Bridge will be closed on Saturday, March 22 at 7 hours 35 for a period of 1.5 hours. And with that, we've come to the end of the evening news for Friday, March 21, 2014. I'm Afanash Ramzan. Thanks for watching.